Good news and bad news alike has come for fans of Dragon Ball who have been awaiting the continuation of Dragon Ball Super. Originally leaked under the title Dragon Ball Magic, the plotline that the series would follow was believed to be about the Supreme Kai and Goku having been turned into children, and it left plenty of speculation as to what direction Dragon Ball was headed, and fears abounded that Toei was about to repeat the mistakes of Dragon Ball GT. I mean, personally, I love GT, so cope. But during a special panel for Dragon Ball at the New York Comicon of 2023, Dragon Ball DAIMA was officially revealed. A statement being given by series author Akira Toriyama, which stated the following: "Hello, I'm Akira Toriyama. I'm currently working on a new Dragon Ball. The title is Dragon Ball DAIMA. Daima is a made-up term, which in English would be something akin to evil. Due to a conspiracy, Goku and his friends are turned small. In order to fix things, they'll head off to a new world. It's a grand adventure with intense action in an unknown and mysterious world. Since Goku has to make up for his petite size, he uses his power pole to fight, something not seen in a long time. I came up with the story and settings as well as a lot of the designs. I'm currently putting a lot more into this than usual. Things will unfold that close in on the mysteries of the Dragon Ball world. Hope you all enjoy these different from usual battles that are cute and powerful. This new series generated waves in the Dragon Ball community, receiving mixed opinions about the new series, fearing it might follow in the footsteps of GT, which has received primarily negative reviews by anime fans since its release in 1996. So what are the differences and similarities between Dragon Ball DAIMA and its predecessor GT? What will be carried over? What will be removed? When does the story take place? And the biggest question on everyone's mind, will it be canon? Let's take a quick look into it and see if we can answer any of these questions. Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, we publish a new video every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. We've also noticed that a lot of folks who are watching these videos aren't actually subscribed to our channel. We know that YouTube does do a good job of recommending you what you want to watch, but if you want to make sure that you're supporting the Amagi, and if you don't want to miss a single episode, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks so much. The Amagi's reach stretches beyond just this channel, so if you're a fan of us, please consider subscribing to our other channels and following us on all of our social media. Help us reach our goal of passing 100,000 followers on all of our accounts by the end of the year. First of all, for those who don't know, Toei has released an official trailer for the new series, so go take a look and let us know in the comments what you think about it. Alright, let's start with similarities. The most glaring comparison between DAIMA and GT would be the inclusion of a wish to turn Goku back into a child. So much of this trailer is a direct nod to GT. You see, in Dragon Ball GT, Goku was training Oob on the lookout when Pilaf and his gang appeared and utilized the Black Star Dragon Balls, a powerful variant of Dragon Balls that served as a more powerful prototype, created before Piccolo split into Kami and the Demon King. This explains why they were never much of a threat until after Piccolo fused with Kami again. Goku stumbled upon the Pilaf squad, and in a panic, Emperor Pilaf accidentally wasted his wish. Originally, the Pilaf squad wished to have their youth returned to them, but they accidentally cast that wish upon Goku, which turned him back into the form of a child. These Black Star Dragon Balls then scattered into the vastness of space, where it was revealed that they had accidentally started a process of destruction in the Earth, which would cause the planet to explode approximately 1 year after the wish. To that end, Bulma was forced to create for Goku, Trunks, and Pan a starship, which would allow them to cross the universe in search of the Black Star Dragon Balls. If these Dragon Balls were collected, brought back to Earth, and sealed once again, Earth would not explode and everything would return to normal. Now, this plot was actually nodded to by Dragon Ball Super, which introduced the Pilaf squad once again, but this time as children, hinting that they had attempted the same wish and this time succeeded. It was also taken by many fans who believed that due to the Pilaf squad becoming children again, that GT was no longer possible and therefore non-canon to the series. GT was criticized for its first arc, which took up a good portion of the series that revolved around a quest to get the Black Star Dragon Balls. Intended to be a nod to the original Dragon Ball series, it didn't float well with fans, most of which unilaterally agree that they skip this entire arc and go straight to the Baby Saga, as that is considered the peak of GT's storytelling, and considered it to be its best arc, and one of the best arcs of Dragon Ball. But what GT was also criticized for was the fact that they turned Goku back into a kid and let him steal the show, turning Oob, who was hyped up to be the successor of Goku and a powerful ally, into a weak and mostly useless character. These are some of the more common complaints fans have about GT, but now it seems to many that Daima will be repeating some of these issues, among which is the return to children. Just like GT, Daima starts off on the lookout where the Dragon Balls are used to turn our hero Goku back into a child against his will. But Toriyama takes it a step further by turning not only Goku, but every character into a child, causing discomfort to many fans who have voiced their opinions on the long reviled feature that GT displayed. But some fans have found a silver lining in this that appears to possibly fix the issue that both Dragon Ball GT and even Dragon Ball Super have been accused of. That is, Goku stealing the show. Goku is indeed the main character, and every arc refuses to let you forget it, as previously hyped up storylines in which Gohan, Oob, and any other character are considered to take the lead are quickly forgotten in order to somehow give Goku a new transformation or power. Despite most fans disliking the reversion of characters back into children, some take hope that the transformation of all characters back into children will somehow remedy the main character syndrome that Goku and Vegeta possess through the series, by giving each character, from Piccolo to even Master Roshi, a stake in this, not too dissimilar from how the critically acclaimed Tournament of Power arc had, which is still looked at by fans as one of the better arcs for finally allowing secondary and even tertiary characters their time to shine and receive development. But beyond just this, we're set to see more similarities appear in the series in the form of space travel. Much of GT's first half was spent in space as the heroes hunted down the Dragon Balls and defeated evil, as a dark force intent on taking over the universe is slowly rising against them. This plotline doesn't seem to be changing anytime soon, as the heroes are shown heading to space into the unknown regions to face an evil threat that appears to have something to do with the demon realm. This likely will remain a chase for the Dragon Balls, as it appears that it was Earth's Dragon Balls that turn our heroes into children. However, if the Dragon Balls weren't lost to our heroes, they could easily wish to be transformed back into adults using the same Dragon Balls, or even Namek's Dragon Balls, but instead they remain small, hinting that the Dragon Balls might be lost to them. It could simply be because Shenron still possesses his yearly timer and that he cannot be summoned again until a year of time has passed. But regardless, our heroes journey to space and to an unknown world to face what appears to be demons from the demon realm. This is hinted by the Kai-like appearance of these villains, as well as the presence of Babidi and footage that the villains are watching, hinting that Babidi's death and the defeat of Majin Buu may be what spurred these characters on. This finally could give us a look into the canon demon realm. I'm slightly hoping that they also use this to canonize Dragon Ball heroes. Why? Because if they canonize Dragon Ball Heroes, then they canonize everything connected to it, and Dragon Ball Heroes connects to every continuity and movie, which would finally have Toriyama confirm that all Dragon Ball content is canon to his story, including GT, the Z movies, and all elements within them. That's more of a personal wish though. But I do question the logic behind turning the heroes into children again. In GT, it was an accident, but according to what we see in the description for the new series, it appears to be a deliberate move. Perhaps the villains believe that by doing this, they're going to make the heroes weaker and unable to beat them. That seems like the most natural line of thinking, but what I question is how the Dragon Balls can turn the cast into children at all. We already know that if you're stronger than Shenron, you're immune to his power, as Goku during the Cell Saga refused resurrection from Shenron, and Shenron couldn't do anything about it. So how does he turn these characters, obviously stronger than they were during the Cell games, into children? Something else I noticed is that the starship they're likely to use seems heavily inspired by Frieza Force tech. Given the appearance of a Saiyan attack ball, many different possibilities flood my mind as to what this means. It gives off a real time travel feel, so perhaps we're going to see time travel occur sometime through this. I seem to have noticed at least one quick shot of what appeared to be an elderly Namekian's eye, perhaps Demon King Piccolo or Kami. And if not time travel, then maybe this is supposed to be a flashback. And if not either of those, then maybe it's Tarbal again. Someone's coming in an attack ball, so it's either a flashback, time travel, or we're about to get a new Saiyan. Alright, moving on, we're gonna look at some of the things it's missing from GT so far. First of all, we're missing Goku's blue gi. As a Dragon Ball fan, I've been waiting for Goku to finally switch over to his Peaceful World Saga gi for, well, basically the entirety of Dragon Ball Super. Yeah, orange is iconic, but Goku's grown a lot, and I think it's time for his gi to reflect that he's no longer a student, but finally a master. I loved the blue gi he wore in GT, and I'm hoping something like that will appear at some point in time. But another thing I didn't notice was any inclusion or hint to Super Saiyan 4. Most fans of Dragon Ball, no matter where they stood on the spectrum, could agree that one good thing to come out of GT was Super Saiyan 4, a transformation that was considered one of the best designed out of them all. Forsaking the glowing hair for far more drastic design changes was surprisingly well received by fans, who apparently started to grow weary of this new gold form that appeared every other arc. I'm beginning to believe that this is why Dragon Ball Super has started to sneak away from numbered forms, and has started expressing new transformations via color rather than number. Super Saiyan Blue, Golden Frieza, Orange Piccolo, Black Frieza. The colors help to establish that a new level of power has been achieved, yet don't cause eye fatigue as the golden-haired forms have. Golden-haired forms, particularly Super Saiyan 2, are sometimes hard to distinguish from their predecessor. For the most part, I've heard others say that Super Saiyan 2 is distinguished by eyes that are more narrow, plasma sparks, and a differing number or shape to hair fringes. But the thing about that is that these traits were all uniform under the original Super Saiyan transformation. If you pay attention to Dragon Ball Z, you'll notice that Super Saiyan 1's hairstyle changed drastically between the Cell games and the Buu saga. In the Buu saga, it became far more rigid and uniform into the transformations we know it as today. On Namek, there weren't even bangs and fringes, it all just floated about freely as if Goku were underwater. By the Buu saga, it looked like Goku had a golden stalagmite growing from the top of his head. It looked like Goku could use that hair as a weapon, and this design choice was designed to separate Super Saiyan 1 and 2 from each other as they both looked relatively similar. Super Saiyan's 3 original design was even planned to be even spikier than Super Saiyan 2, but with a tail added in. Thankfully, Toriyama went back to the drawing board on this and developed the long mane we know and love today, though I do have an issue with the lack of eyebrows. Like, why take away someone's eyebrows for a transformation? Ultra Ego does too. What, were they so strong that the energy burned off their brows? I digress. However, Super Saiyan 4 was the first transformation to break from this design choice, and was the first to neglect a hair color change, instead opting to coat the user's body in fur and give them some badass eyeliner. To most, Super Saiyan 4 isn't even considered in the same family as the other forms of Super Saiyan. Some fans don't even believe Super Saiyan form to even be a form of Super Saiyan. The only connection Super Saiyan 4 has with the golden hairline is that it can only be achieved if you gain control of yourself as a golden great ape, which is basically just a great ape in Super Saiyan. Nothing that defines a Super Saiyan as, well, a Super Saiyan remains present. The hair color doesn't change, merely becoming a little longer and more unruly, and the eye color, what used to be teal for all Super Saiyans, now varies between users. Amber for Goku, Sky Blue for Vegeta, and unlike any other Super Saiyan forms which were characterized by absolutely losing control on your enemy like Goku did on Namek or Gohan did in the Cell games, Super Saiyan 4 was characterized as the form you achieve when you get total control of yourself and your transformations. In a way, it's not too unlike how Goku managed to perfect Ultra Instinct, and that Maris told Goku that the only way to perfect it was to have an earth-shattering event, yet maintain emotional control. This form, which I gush over and could talk about all day long, is it a surprise to learn that Super Saiyan 4 is my favorite transformation, is considered one of the best parts of GT, but is yet to be hinted at in Dragon Ball DAIMA. Some fans might think that this doesn't matter, as Super Saiyan 4 is far weaker than anything displayed in Dragon Ball Super. To that, I have a massive argument that I'll spare you from and simply explain why it's a good idea to add it to DAIMA. First off, if the villains intentionally turned the heroes into children, then I can only assume it's because they planned for it to weaken them by locking away their greater potential behind limitations of small bean mode. But here's the thing about Super Saiyan 4. It has never been seen with a child variant. In fact, the first person to ever achieve it was Goku, during a time when he was a child. But even though he was a child, the moment he turned into the form, he was returned to his prime, and reassumed his full size, deepness of voice, and muscle mass that was lost to his childlike appearance prior to the transformation. Why this occurs is unknown. Some people believe that it has to do with Goku being stronger in this form than the Wish on the Dragon Balls, which would be incorrect as Goku's base form by the end of the Shadow Dragon saga has far surpassed Super Saiyan 4 in the Baby saga. Some people say it was a design choice, which I partially agree with. After all, this was designed to be GT, or as stated by Toriyama, a grand tour of Dragon Ball, meant to evoke the same responses and make obvious nods to the previous series. In GT, Goku got turned into a child to represent the original Dragon Ball. The search for the Black Star Dragon Balls was to represent the original Dragon Ball. Super Saiyan 4 returned him to a stronger, more adult form to represent Dragon Ball Z. The same way that Baby was designed to represent Frieza, Super 17 was designed to represent Cell, and the Shadow Dragons were designed to reflect the Buu Saga. But that's an out-of-universe explanation that never truly tackles the meaning behind why this happens in-universe. However, just because we don't recognize it doesn't mean it was never stated. Old Kai, who was helping Goku achieve this new transformation, stated that he believed the form would awaken Goku's latent power. This phrase, with differing variations, was stated multiple times during the attempt to achieve Super Saiyan 4 by many characters, but only in the original Japanese events of the series. What this simply means is that the dormant potential Goku had was blocked off by his child form. Despite being stated to not affect his power any, it certainly affected Goku's potential when his size was reduced, and the same would be true for Dragon Ball DAIMA. If Goku is reduced to a small body and feels the need to rely on his power pole to be confident in his abilities, then he likely has suffered a drastic cut in his power level and now has a whole new set of limits put on him that keep him from accessing his full power. So the introduction of Super Saiyan 4 into Dragon Ball DAIMA would make sense. It would help Goku break through the limitations of being a small child and help him achieve a power he could only hope to use in his adult body. In this way, Super Saiyan 4 has and can still work in a form not too different from Gohan's Potential Unleashed. However, unlike Gohan's Potential Unleashed, which is dependent upon what shape his body is in, Super Saiyan 4 seems to ignore current physical shape and simply puts you in the body where all of your potential can be expressed at once. This form could further continue to be used even after DAIMA, as even old Kai believed that Potential Unleashed transformations would be beneficial to Goku and Vegeta during the Tournament of Power, even though they possessed divine forms at that time. Maybe they could even add divine energy to the form to make it a superior god form to all the others, and considering how Ultra Instinct works, I'm certain Toyotaro is itching to get back to drawing silver-colored Super Saiyan 4s. For reference, I'm talking about Toyotaro's involvement in the fan manga Dragon Ball AF, in which Super Saiyan 5 was a thing, and it looked like Super Saiyan 4 with silver fur. Super Saiyan 4 is one of the most beloved transformations to ever be seen. As much, if not more so, than even Legendary Super Saiyan, which was introduced into canon just to excite fans. Some might even insinuate that Super Saiyan 4 has representation through Broly as well, with his wrathful state, but I don't really count that, as the only similarity is the eye color and the statement that he's using Great Ape power in base form. Another thing missing from Dragon Ball DAIMA is the Black Star Dragon Balls. As awesome and iconic as Ultimate Shenron was in GT, he doesn't seem to be found anywhere in Dragon Ball DAIMA's official trailer, which may be a sigh of relief to some. While it's still not understood how the Dragon Balls are going to take someone as strong as Goku or Vegeta and reduce them to bite size against their will, fans may be happy to hear that the single most hated arc in all of Dragon Ball likely won't be repeated. At least, they hope so. We still don't know if our heroes will be forced to gather the Dragon Balls again to undo this wish, so there is some cause for anxiety. It would be strange not to consider bringing back the Black Star Dragon Balls, as it seems that every planet with a Namekian now has at least one set. Since Dragon Ball Super's beginnings, at least 2 more sets have been discovered, one in an extra cosmic fashion, and another set on planet Cereal that boasts one of the most broken abilities in all of Dragon Ball: the ability to literally just wish to be the strongest in the universe. It's still too early to completely write off the Black Star Dragon Ball's appearance, but it seems safe to assume that they won't be a part of the series, and that might be for the best anyway, as they are insanely hard to use, as they destroy the planet they're used on and rush off into space every time they're used. In GT, they were considered so dangerous and hard to use that Piccolo literally chose death over going off to find them again, and I'm sure all Dragon Ball fans felt the same. The next question to ask is, when will the series take place? And more importantly, will we ever get to see the Moro arc adapted? Well, as for the latter question, the answer is a big fat I don't know, as Toei has not given us much to go on. Rumors spread in the past that Toei was wishing to adapt the Moro arc and asked when they would begin, but was ultimately told by Shueisha to wait until there was enough manga to adapt before starting. But to be perfectly honest, I sort of feel like we'll never see the Moro arc adapted into the anime. And why is that? Well, it's simply because the anime has not really stuck very close to the manga. It's kind of hard to adapt something where your elements are just so different. Not to say that it couldn't happen, but what Dragon Ball fans might need to realize is that the anime and manga appear to be two very different continuities, each one with their own unique stories. As it stands, Dragon Ball Super is split into 3 different categories: anime, manga, and movies. Each one of these has its own continuity, as the movies, manga, and anime never agree on any single range of events. Battle of Gods, for instance. This movie takes place in the backyard of Capsule Corp, while in the anime and manga, it takes place on a cruise ship. I could explain the differences between manga and anime, but we'd be here all day. And as for manga, the movies do sometimes get adapted, such as the Broly movie and the most recent superhero movie. However, both of these seem different, as Broly is merely skimmed over, and Broly himself never seems to achieve legendary Super Saiyan in the manga, and in Superheroes manga, Goten and Trunks actually show up and take the form of Saiyaman X1 and X2, which never happened in the movie. Does this mean that one is more canon than the other? Not exactly, as Toriyama seems to be loosely following them all, directing them and helping them along. To him, each of them are viable paths Goku could take from his original design, so in all honesty, the Moro arc may never be adapted into anime, just as Dragon Ball Daima may never see a manga adaptation. They're just very different mediums and different continuities. I mean, I could be wrong, and I hope I am. I read the manga, but I'm an anime main, because animation is just so much better. But I don't have my hopes up for adaptation. But now we move on to the other question, which I can answer. Well, I can kind of answer. At what point in time does Dragon Ball Daima take place? Is it before Super? After Z? Somewhere in between, sort of like, yo, Son Goku and his friends return? The answer to that isn't actually as hard as it seems. This is most definitely after Z, but anyone with eyes can see that, with our timeline marker being Babidi. But is it before Super? Well, actually, it's after Super. How far into the future it is, I do not know. But we know that it must at least be after the Tournament of Destroyers, because we get to see Supreme Kai once more, and from the point of the Buu Saga all the way to the Tournament of Destroyers, we only see him as Kibito Kai. Now, of course, Supreme Kai made mention that he and Kibito split via a wish from the Dragon Balls, so perhaps what was going on at the Lookout was just that, and somehow everyone got turned into kids in the process. As I said, I can't exactly pinpoint where on the timeline this definitely is, as there isn't enough information to go around. But this insinuates that it is at least after Battle of the Gods, as during Battle of the Gods, Supreme Kai was still Kibito Kai. And considering how quickly things progressed, it's also somewhat likely that this is after Resurrection F, as very little time passed between Battle of the Gods and Resurrection F. So for those wondering if Goku still has access to divine energy, unless his small form has overwritten what he can do, he should still be able to make use of it and his divine transformations. Here's hoping we also get to see a baby Beerus and a baby Whis. Can you imagine how adorable it would be to see Beerus's tantrum if he were like 6? We likely won't get to see this, but it would be hilarious if we did. I would also love to see a child Broly also just lose complete control of himself and hammer everyone and everything once again. And although we didn't see him in the trailer, here's hoping that Gohan is there, because I need to see Kid Goku and Kid Gohan interact. So now is the final question. Will it be canon? One of the biggest hurdles GT fans have had to deal with was the question of canonicity. True GT stans, and that's not an insult to GT stans because I'm a GT stan too, have always fought vigorously for their series, injecting their own level of bias into arguments for GT to counter the bias against GT. But for every good argument they've ever made, and whether it is or isn't better than Dragon Ball Super, one thing that Dragon Ball Super has on them was that Dragon Ball Super was written by Akira Toriyama and therefore is canon. GT had some involvement by Toriyama, but only about as much as Toriyama had for the Z movies, such as Cooler's Revenge and Broly the Legendary Super Saiyan. And while nobody can deny that each of those movies were wonderful, they never truly fit into Toriyama's main canon, remaining simply within the Toeiverse, where much of the non-canon and filler arc originate. But the biggest question that crops up here is if Dragon Ball Daima is going to be canon, or is it just gonna be filler? Will it be a Toei-only arc that means nothing in the grand scheme of things other than a new way to spark interest in Dragon Ball and generate more profit? Well, actually, I'd say it will. I believe Dragon Ball Daima will be canon to the story. Why? Well, there's a few reasons. First off, it's being written by Akira Toriyama. Toriyama-sensei is the original author for Dragon Ball and its main plotline. Without his approval, nothing is canon, and Toriyama-sensei himself stated that he's personally working on the story, the setting, and the designs. Further still, Toriyama himself made mention that he's actually working on Dragon Ball DAIMA a lot more than usual. So indeed, the story will be a Toriyama original. But even then, just because the author makes it doesn't exactly mean it has to be canon. Toriyama could simply create this for fun or as a grand experiment. It doesn't have to actually be a part of his main story. Such things have happened before with other authors who simply wanted to explore a concept that didn't change their world. But even if that's true, it doesn't exactly lower the possibilities that this is true. Yes, Toriyama could write his own work off as non-canon. He's done it before. People don't realize this, but Bardock officially made canon during the Namek saga, in which case his story and design matched that of the anime special Bardock, Father of Goku. However, time passes and he drops Dragon Ball Minus as well as Dragon Ball Super Broly and completely changes design, history, and everything else about Bardock. But just because this is a possibility doesn't mean that Dragon Ball DAIMA is set to suffer the same fate. In all honesty, with how different the anime, manga, and movies are, I'm left to question what canon in Dragon Ball even is anymore. What Toriyama thinks canon is, and the most important question of all, does it even matter? Toriyama is telling stories, not all of them align properly through various media, but does it really matter? Would you dislike the superhero movie if it were declared non-canon tomorrow? What about the old Z movies? Wrath of the Dragon, Fusion Reborn? So much of Dragon Ball's most beloved material, Super Saiyan 4 included, remains in the non-canon area of the story. So does it really matter if Dragon Ball DAIMA is canon or not? For me, to know that Toriyama is picking up his pen once more to write for us another wonderful story, whether it's canon or not, which is such a gray line anyway, doesn't really matter. I'm just a Dragon Ball fan who's glad to go on another adventure with our favorite protagonist. And to that point, I have many other things that I crave to see. Things that aren't going to make or break the show by any means, but things that I would love and would put a smile on my face and make this series all the more awesome. These things are as follows. Super Saiyan 4. It's my favorite transformation and you can't have a GT tribute without it. It's the most iconic thing from GT, and if it can be fit into the story without breaking it or destroying all logic, I would love to see it included. And the second thing is very similar to the first. I would love to hear Don Don Kokoro again, even if it's only a minor leitmotif in the main theme or ending credits. To have something like Dragon Soul where the song is remixed and taken in a new direction would be absolutely more than I could even ask for. But more than anything, I just want the story to be great. But anyway, what do you think about this new series? Are you excited for it or nervous? Let us know down below. Thanks for watching, and until next time, peace.
Did you enjoy our video? Well then be sure to check out these other great videos from the Amagi, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.